Hello, everybody. This is Nick Totiro, Professor of Information Technologies and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College. Alrighty, let's crack a WEP Wi-Fi network. Now, if we're doing a pen testing environment or we're looking around, I will tell you how to solve the WEP authentication problem. Get rid of it. Don't use it. Don't need it. It's archaic. It's a well-known crack. If there's anything you're going to get out of this video, it's not really cracking WEP, but how simple it is to crack. So here is the solution. Don't use it. If you come across it, get rid of it, replace it with WPA2 at a minimum. All right. So again, here is the solution. Get rid of it. The only reason I'm demonstrating it is to kind of show you the weakness of the environment. It doesn't do a brute force dictionary attack. It's going to gather a whole bunch of information, and from that information, it's going to get the WEP key, and it's going to show you the WEP key, and then you're pretty much good to go. So again, it's going to be a quicker video in that regard because there's just not much to it. It's just going to show you the weakness. It is going to take a little time though, not the actual cracking, but it needs a whole bunch of data to determine the WEP key. So that will, I'll probably skip over that or pause it and let it just collect as much data as possible. Okay, a couple things here. Let me go up my machine. My machine is not on the WEP network. It's not there, right? It is just going to listen in monitor mode too. It's going to hunt down and look for WEP network, find it, listen to it, never go on it. And then once it gathers enough information, then it's going to crack it. So I want people to understand that. You may see videos. They're good videos. They're good YouTube videos. But oftentimes what they do is they start the process to gathering the information, and then they start injecting packets onto that network. I'm going to take a passive approach. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the data collection process, and then I have my phone is going to be talking to the WEP network, my router over here. So Godzilla is not going to be involved, is not in between this, just listening to this. So I'm not going to force an injection. When we're doing things like this, we can take a passive approach and just let it gather information at its own pace, or we could be very aggressive and we can inject thousands of packets in a short amount of time. You see that a lot on the internet. That's fine. I want to take a different approach. I just want to take a passive approach. So let's fire this up. Alrighty, let's double check some things real quickly. Yep, my USB NIC card is there. Let me get to a command prompt, make it just a little bit bigger. For those of you who are familiar with a lot of my videos, I found out how to make the command prompt bigger. Kind of impressed with myself there. Going to check to see that, yep, so it is running. I'm going to throw that card in. Well, let's check what that card is. Let's be consistent. That card is in manage mode. I'm going to throw it into monitor mode. So all right, it's telling me it needs to kill off some potential things. That's fine. We've seen that before in other videos. Let's make sure it's in monitor mode. So now my card's in monitor mode. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, you may have seen this in other videos, hopefully you have, I'm just going to go out and see what networks are out there, see if there's a WEP network available. So I'm going to say sudo Airodump-ng and give it the card. And away it goes. So now it's listening to networks. It hasn't come up with anything yet. That's interesting. Did I type the right information? That doesn't make sense. Okay, let me try that again. Looks like all the ducks are in a row. Maybe it took a little longer than I thought. It's finding things. Well, let me pause this, see if I can fix what the problem is. Okay, sorry about that. I actually had to reboot my whole system. I'm not quite sure what could have happened there. But anyways, as I look at this, what I'm looking for is WEP. So here, this is telling me that this particular network, BFTE weird, is a WEP network, and that's the information I want. Now, what I can do is I'm going to break this or quit it. And what I can do is I can just go out there hunting for WEP networks. And that is just a couple extra commands here. If I do encrypt WEP, it's going to give me basically the same information, but now it's just showing me the WEP network. So sometimes you may see people go directly to looking for WEP networks, but I'm just kind of showing you. Most people would just kind of do a big network look and say, oh, there happens to be one. Let me go after that. So now what I want to do is I want to take this information and I want to start saving it in a capture file, a .cap file. So let me break out of this and quickly let me explain. This computer, Godzilla, is not on the WEP network. Let me repeat that. Godzilla is not on the WEP network. Godzilla is just monitoring. It's in that monitor mode. It's listening to all the traffic that's available to it. So it picked up the WEP network, and now we're going to start gathering data from the WEP network. Now, for this crack to work, it has to gather about 20 to 25,000 pieces of data. You'll see it in a bit. You see this piece here, this data right here, where it says data, then 11. It needs to grab about 20 to 25,000. And once it does that, it does a pretty good job. Now, in other videos, they're good videos, they will force those 25,000. They'll do some kind of air replay and they'll put a whole bunch. That's very aggressive. I want to be a little passive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch this. I'm going to start collecting the data, launch it, and then I'm going to surf on my phone. And when we get to the point where I'm a little bit over 20,000 or closer to 25,000, I'm going to stop searching and work from here. So all this machine is going to be doing, all the Godzilla machine is going to be doing is just gathering that WEP traffic. So I'm going to say Airodump-ng WLAN 0. No, I don't want that one. No, 1 second. Sorry about that. Just had to get my notes out. I'm going to say sudo airodump.ng. I'm going to go after the channel 11. I'm going to write it to a file called bfte_weird. And because I'm not on the network, I have to tell it the MAC address of that BSS ID address, the MAC address of that access point. As you can see that I already put it there. You can see that I am doing a WLAN 0. So this is just going to capture packets from this particular network. Now, if I want to get a little fancy, I can put encrypt WEP, but this should be good enough. All right, and away we go. And now it's sitting there and it's gathering information. You can see that because there's no traffic on that WEP network. I'm going to get rid of it when I'm done with this video. I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to connect to the router on that phone. So you should start seeing the data spike a little bit. And I'm going to tell the phone Begin. Now, it's interesting on my phone, it is telling me you are aware this is a weak protocol. It's saying weak security. Right there. I don't know if you can see it. It'll say weak security. You can see that the data jumped on there. So now what I'm going to do is, well, you know what? Let's listen to a podcast. You guys won't hear it. And away we go. So you can see the data jumped a little bit there. All right. How about if I go to YouTube? Watch a little YouTube for a second. So you can see it is gathering data. I have to look at this number here. That number there has to get to, like I said, about 20, 25,000. So I'm going to pause this so you don't have to sit here and watch it for like 5, 10, 15 minutes. And when it gets to a certain amount, I'll stop it. Okay, I guess I'm just surfing the web right now. I was listening to a podcast. You can see we're at about 23,000 data points. Let me see if I can get it to jump a little bit more. All right, that's good enough. And that is exactly what would happen. Let me get my phone out of the way. That is exactly what would happen. Now, again, this was a very passive approach. Let me recap here. I turned on the capture. I began to capture packets from the WEP network, this BFTE weird. It's a using WEP. And then I just sat there and I let the capture live networks. In other videos, they will do insertions and they will inject a lot of packets there. You're saying it would definitely trigger a situation with a intrusion detection system, intrusion protection system if you're injecting that many packets, and they're really garbage packets. But if somebody's running WEP, the chances are they're probably not running an IDS, IPS system. So let's stop here. All right. And if I do an LS just to see what's out there, I've been practicing all day, but basically I am looking at, must be the second one, okay? Because I did have a number of this first one here. Let me see something here. Yeah, I'm going to assume it's the second one, okay? All I need to do now is run that cap file, that capture file, run it through a program called Aircrack. So I will say sudo aircrack.ng. It was a 64-bit WEP key, even though it says 128. I set it as 64, and the file that I want it to use is bft weird-02.cap. Let's run this, and boom. Give it a couple seconds here. It's sitting there, and it was crunching numbers, right? So it was doing a whole bunch of things. It found the key right here. This is the key, the WEP key. Now I can take that key and just log into that network. You know, the network's now been compromised. And you say, what's this key? Well, the key had to be in hexadecimal. It's older technology. And I will tell you, years ago, I remember we used to come up with, if you're using hexadecimal codes, you'd be surprised at the number of words you can come up with. The one I always remember was feed face. So I had to give it feed face 0. That's a FEEDFACE01. But took about 5-7 minutes for it to gather enough information. And then once it took it, I ran it through a program called Aircrack-ng. Aircrack just looked at all that WEP stuff and said, okay, it was not a dictionary attack. It was not a brute force attack. It was just gathered enough information. And the algorithm was able to say, here's the key. All right, let me recap here. If you see or you're doing a pen testing for a customer and you see they're using WEP, the solution is get them off WEP, right? Find a way, explain to them, show them this video, but that's the solution. There's no other solution. I can't even come up with a more complicated password because there was restrictions on how the passwords had to be named and stuff. So the solution is just get rid of it. And hopefully this video showed you how easy to crack a WEP network. Now, post 2005, 2007, I think it was really cracked in 01, but post after that, people stopped using it. They went over to a different protocol. So that being said, let's go learn something.